All right, so we're going to move into our next lesson, still working with our parallel lines and transversals. So here's a little bit of a summary to start us off. So here we have our corresponding angles. Remember, that's our same position, and they are congruent. Then we have our parallel lines. They never intersect, and here's our symbol, those double lines. We have supplementary angles, a sum of 180 degrees, and vertical angles. They're angles that are across from each other. I draw that little X. So they're across and they are congruent. Remember, they can go in the other direction as well. All right, so here are our theorems, which you actually heard in the previous lesson before, and they're coming right back again. So we have our corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior, and consecutive. Before I begin answering any of these questions, I just want to put on the side if they are 180 degrees or if they are congruent. So corresponding angles, as we talked about just about a few seconds ago, they are congruent. Alternate interior, they are also congruent. Alternate exterior are congruent. And consecutive interior, which I like to refer to as same side interior, or SSI, they are 180 degrees. All right, so now using the diagram to the right, we're going to figure out which angles link together based on the term given. So in our diagram here, it says angle 2 corresponds to what angle? So here is angle 2, so same position would be angle 6. Angle 3, same position, that would be angle 7. All right, alternate interior angles. Angle 3 and angle 6 are alternate interior. Angle 4 and angle 5. Notice how they're writing the answer. They're writing it as a statement of congruency because they are congruent towards one another. Then we have alternate exterior. 1 and 8. Do not forget to put that angle symbol. And 2 and 7. Then the last one are same side interior. That would be angles 4 and 6. Angle 3 and angle 5. Again, that's just a quick refresher, and then we're going to use them to help us on our next few problems. All right, so here it says identifying the angles. It says the measure of 3 of the number angles are 120 degrees. Identify the angles. Explain your reasoning. So explaining your reasoning is a little bit of vocabulary, and this all depends on how you approach your problem. So for here, they want us to figure out which angles are 120 degrees. So I'm going to use all the angle skills of relationships that I know of. So the first thing I'm going to do is say angle 4 is 120 degrees. And why is angle 4 120 degrees? Well, that's because they are vertical. So I'm just going to write angle 4 equals 120. Again, my reasoning is vertical, depending on how I'm approaching the problem. So then I'm going to jump and say angle 5 is 120. And why would that be? So the relationship here, I would say alternate interior. And then I could say angle 8 would be 120. And that's from vertical again. So that's my reasoning. Now, it didn't ask this question, but I would like to know what would be the angle measure of angle 3? Well, to find the measure of angle 3, we're going to do a little bit of work. And what we can do is know that we have a linear pair here. And remember, our linear pair is a sum of 180 degrees. So I could say 180 minus 120 would be 60. So 60 degrees here, which means 60 degrees and all of those missing spots to fill it in. So there we have our two angle measures, and then they repeat as a pattern like they did in our previous problems. So I would like you to pause your screen and try the one on your own, and then check your answer. Again, our reasons might match or not match depending on how you approach the problem. They're starting you off with 75 degrees right here. Fill in as much as you can and provide justification. All right, so now let's go over it. So here I have 75 for angle 2, and I'm going to say that that was vertical. Now I can say jumping here to angle 6, that's 75. I can say alternate interior. You might have said corresponding for these two if you jump from here to angle 6. And then to angle 7 is 75 as well, and I could say that that was vertical. To find the other missing angles, I would still use that same idea of a linear pair of any two angles next to each other on a straight line and say 180 minus 75 equals 105. So I know that angle 8 is 105. Then we have vertical angles here. That's 105. I have alternate interior, 105. I have vertical, 105. All right, so make sure your numbers all should match. Your reasoning, again, might change. All right, continuing on using our vocab and connecting it with algebra. So in this problem, it says find the value of x. So here they're giving me this angle is 115. This is angle 4, not the number 4, and this angle is x plus 5. These two angles with the variables are not connected. I cannot use any term right now to connect them, but I can maneuver my numbers a little bit. So the first thing is I can say that these two angles that I highlighted are a linear pair. And if I wanted to find out this angle measure, I would say 180 minus 115 equals 65 degrees. So I know that this angle is 65 degrees. Now, how is that going to help me? Well, that helps me connect x plus 5 and 65. X plus 5 and 65 are corresponding angles. So 65 and x plus 5 are corresponding. So I'm just writing that as a reminder for myself. Now, remember, corresponding is congruent. Now, how would I write that statement? So I could write 65 equals x plus 5. And then we're just going to simply solve our equation to find x. So I subtract 5 from both sides, and 60 equals x. Again, that's one way to solve this equation. All right, so we're going to try another one together. So here we have 136 degrees, 7x plus 9 degrees. They're telling us here we have angle 1 here if we use it or not. The two on the right-hand side are not connected by any of the terms that we know. So I'm going to do a little bit of work like I did in the previous problem. These two angles form a linear pair. So I'm going to say 180 minus 136 equals 44 degrees. So this is 44 degrees. So now I know that I have 44 degrees here and my variable over here. What is their relationship? Their relationship is alternate exterior angles. And because they're alternate exterior, we should know that they are congruent angles. So my equation I can create is 44 equals 7x plus 9. And then we're going to solve. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. So now I have 35 equals 7x. Divide both sides by 5. I'm sorry, by 7. And x equals 5. So again, divide by 7. All right, so you can pause your screen and try the next two on your own to find the value of x. All right, so let's look at the first one. These two do not have a relationship right away, so we're going to do a little bit of work. So you could find this angle next to it or this angle here. It's up to you. So I like to work with that linear pair. And so I know this angle is 60. Again, 180 minus 120 equals 60. So here I have these two angles I'm going to highlight. So 60 and 2x. What is their relationship? The relationship should be identified as corresponding angles. So here I have 60 equals 2x. x equals 30. All right, and the second one here, we actually have a relationship already. These are alternate exterior angles, so they are congruent. So I'm going to say 129 equals 6y minus 3. And after solving, y equals 22. All right. Now into a little bit of word problems. Here it says, when the sunlight enters a drop of rain, different colors of light leave the drop at different angles. The process is what makes a rainbow. The violet light, the measure of angle 2 equals 40. What's the measure of angle 1? The diagram's a little hard to see, so I do want to highlight a little bit of it. So you can see here that sunlight, I'm elongating it. And then you can see the transversal is here. So here is angle 2, here is angle 1. They told me angle 2 is 40 degrees, so I'm going to label that on my diagram. And they want us to find the measure of angle 1 and why. So here I can see that these are in between my parallel lines, so I know that the measure of angle 1 should be 40 degrees. And the reason why, I can use my vocabulary to explain that relationship. These are alternate interior angles, which again means that they are congruent. All right, here is another example. So here we have our two angles here, angle 1 and angle 2. And it says a balloonist sees a car at a 37 degree angle of depression from a horizontal line. And in the diagram, measure of angle 1 is 37. What is the measure of angle 2? So before I begin any of that, some great terms in here, angle of depression. So when we are looking down at something, so here I'm just going to actually draw this Z. This Z is so important. We actually hide this picture in many of our diagrams throughout our course. So that Z really holds our parallel lines here and our transversal in the middle. When we are looking down at something, we call this our angle of depression. And when we are looking up, we call this angle of elevation. And they are congruent towards one another. So here you can see the car would be looking up, the balloon would be looking down. So the measure of angle 1 equals 37 degrees. So that means the measure of angle 2 equals 37 degrees for alternate interior angles. All right, so now we're going to try some practice on the next page. So you can pause your screen, try these 3, and we'll go over them in a few. All right, so the first one, it says, find the measure of angle 1 and 2 and tell which theorem, which is your rules of your vocabulary, that you use in each case. Now, the numbers will be the same. Your reasons may differ from mine depending on your approach. All right, so here I would say angle 1 is 110 for alternate interior. And then I could say angle 2 is 110 because of vertical. Again, your numbers should stay the same. Reasons might differ. All right, in number 2, here we have, I went right for angle 2. So angle 2 is 117. And I'm going to say same side interior. And then I'm going to say angle 1 is 63 for linear pair. I'm sorry, not sorry, linear pair, corresponding. So again, your vocab might be different. You might have used linear pair if you used angle 1 and 2 together. All right, and then the last example.